In the past few weeks, the leadership of the All Progressive Congress, APC, has emerged and engaged in intense search for new leadership of the national and, the bicameral legislature, that is the 8th National Assembly that will be inaugurated in June, which is this month. The party appears to have arrived at a consensus on which zones to produce the next Senate President and Speaker of the House of Representatives. There is no contention about the role of a ruling party anywhere in the world in the determination of principal officers in the parliament. We are aware that anybody who contested and won election on a party platform must abide by the decisions of the party, which is supreme. To that extent, we agree with the view of Itse Sage, a senior advocate of Nigeria, that you cannot win an election on a party platform and then decide to go on a wild goose chase or become a misguided missile. No, it doesn't, and it should not happen that way. That was what he said. Any disciplined party member abide by the rules of the party. There are leadership decisions that must be carried out, otherwise the party will collapse. Zoning is a party matter. It is neither a Senate nor a House of Representatives matter. There is, room to ensure that ruling party does not begin to have an opposition in the legislature that is under its party control. But we strongly canvass that the legislature must be allowed to vote for the best candidate that they think will lead them more properly and more efficiently. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dapo Banjo, and this is Crossfire on Channel 196 and Star Times. And I have with me in the studio, driving the show as usual, Ishoma Againe. Ishoma, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Good, and you? Good morning. And
lovely combination, black and wine. It looks really very good.
Thank you.
And we're not alone in the studio. We have this gentleman joining us, and he is definitely someone who knows his onions very well. And we'll be running the show together. We have about 50 minutes talk time, and then we definitely just be doing justice to a couple of stories that we're bringing your way today. Let's welcome as Mr. Desmond Majekodumi join us in the conversation and discussion this morning.
Welcome.
Mr. Desmond, how are you doing?
We're going to fire away
on all cylinders. As a matter of fact, our show today is divided into two major focus. We'll definitely will be looking at a very major trending story, and that's the activity, the roadmap or the road, the very ugly road, the bumpy road to the 8th Assembly, where we have a lot of issues, characterize the activities of who becomes the Speaker of the House of Representatives and who emerged as a Senate President. And that has been really very hot. And I think, parties are beginning to find it a bit more difficult, settling in. And definitely top on the agenda at the G7 meeting, is talking about the environment, the climate change. And so we'll be looking at that, more detailed, in the second half of the show. But let's just quickly look at what is happening, because Nigeria is such a very sensitive nation, and we're in a sensitive time, knowing fully well that the economy of the country is in a very bad shape, and the president 11th day in office, we have not seen any significant activity taking place. But for me, I've decided to look at like, when you plan to succeed, you succeed, and when you do not plan to succeed, you actually have plans also, and that is to fail. And so I know that the president is probably engaged in a couple of activities that probably will reposition the economy of Nigeria back to limelight as expected. Now my concern is that today we have a lot of problem within the party APC. Don't forget that the coalition has been between the ACN, the CPC, coming together to form the APC. And as a matter of fact, I did not expect that the APC will allow what is happening today, to happen. Let me quickly give you, some updates. One, it is very unbelievable that Nigerians are beginning to wonder why APC will present a consensus candidate, especially for the Speaker of the House of Representatives. Femi Gbajabiamila, yesterday during the party primaries, emerged as, supposedly the new, Speaker of the House of Representatives. Even though that did not, is actually amidst a lot of mixed feelings, people saying no, it should not be, because the party chairman, John Oyegwe, called an assembly. He just said, come, let us, brainstorm. And suddenly, he just decided to carry out a primaries, where people are there. So there's loads of, agitations and, misgivings and misfeelings. I said, do you think it is appropriate for APC to actually have a consensus candidate, well, especially for against the fact that you have somebody who is contending more favorably? I mean that's talking about Yakubu, Dogara, which everybody feels may eventually emerge, even though Femi Gbajabiamila is more favored.
It's nothing new. It's nothing new. I mean, part of our challenge in this very rough, bumpy, and sometimes exceedingly bloody road to democracy in Nigeria. Remember, we started the process from independence. And that's why I say it was a very bloody road, because the first people that were elected into power were murdered. They were slaughtered. Tafawa Balewa and many people in his cabinet, they were slaughtered. There was a coup, and so it's been a very bloody, very bumpy road. One of the things that has emerged in this second new phase of our democratic process is the lack of internal democracy in the parties. People have always said that okay, we seem to be getting it a little bit right now, with the PVCs and with, technology coming to card reader and all that, and, and the people themselves. I mean, the Nigerian people themselves, they were the heroes of this whole process. People who came out from early in the morning and were ready to stay till after midnight just so that their vote could count. Wonderful, great thing. But the problem had always been, where is the internal democratic process in the parties? It's very clear. The Godfather system had always been prevailing in our parties. And that's why there was a lack of quality material presented to the people that should be elected into the various positions, into the House of Reps, into the Senate, because quite often, in fact, more often than not, these people were imposed. These people were just brought up and said, okay, this is the candidate, this is the candidate, this is the candidate, as opposed to, a real internal democratic process that would have allowed the quality candidates to emerge. Now, I'm not saying that people like Femi Gbajabiamila is not necessarily a qualified candidate. But it's part of the throwback of that system, the foundations of all the parties, I'm sorry to say, has been a little bit shaky because there is definitely a lack of internal democracy.
But sir, sorry to cut you short. If there was a consensus election for them to all choose amongst themselves, can't that be related to having a party democracy?
But was it really a consensus election? I heard certain people walked out, certain people...
Yeah, it wasn't.
They walked out on their own free will.
Anyway, I mean, for me, it was a consensus. For me, it was a consensus because we had a breakdown of out of 214 seats, in the House, being won by the APC. We have a situation in which 161 people, or 151 people actually voted for Gbajabiamila. 61 other people walked out. They didn't even vote anyway. So they walked out in solidarity for their candidate, which is Yakubu, Dogara, saying that no, I mean, you didn't gather us here for an election. You made it look like you just want to sanitize, or I mean, not sanitize, maybe sanitize, because the place is actually dirty, and then sensitize the people. Exactly. And then sensitize the people. Come Tuesday today, that election that has been slated for today, we go as planned. Because everybody is still saying election must take place today. Whatever happened yesterday has been discredited as unlawful, as it's even against the process that that PMB, President Muhammadu Buhari, laid down, telling the party that going forward, I don't believe in any northerner or southerner, they are all Nigerians. Go out there and let the rule of law, let it prevail in the selection of the next, Speaker of the House of Representatives and the President of the Senate.
But do you know how I'm looking at this from? Because it would be, the ruling party, it's necessary that the ruling party, they also have the majority, especially when the ruling party in government, they have, the Senate leaders from their own political party. So could it be, because I'm also looking at it from another angle, that probably the reason why they had to agree to this consensus candidate, probably because of his personality. They needed someone, they needed to present someone that will be able to stand whoever it is, the PDP or any other political party will be fielding, so that they will be in control. Because when you have the APC in control of these seats and you have the APC at the federal level, they will be able to work together to also present law. So I'm looking at it from that angle.
No, let's look at it this way. Let's look at it this way.
It's an interesting angle.
Yeah, but there's a conspiracy theory, taking place already.
Whose theory?
I'm telling you, do you know that yesterday, Bukola Saraki actually is already pledging allegiance for the PDP?
No, you see.
You understand? Exactly.
Recrossing the cross.
So this could be the reason why they insisted that Mr. Femi should, amongst the
no, but another conspiracy, to affect the, to affect the House of Representatives, who eventually emerge as the Speaker, is such that we have about 121, seats for the PDP. And so you can imagine if he has won 151, 61 out of that has walked away, and then you have 121 members of the PDP who possibly will put their weight behind Dogara.
It's a very, very interesting. But it's alive, and that's what democracy is actually all about. And it's going to come out today. It's going to emerge today. We're going to see the real democratic process at work. It's going to be, the voice of the representatives of the people. And this is what it's all about. It's very, very good. In a way, it's interesting, even though it showed the flaws of the lack of democracy, and we're still caught up. Yeah, we're still caught up in this, Godfather kind of system that, I put you there, I put you there. Believe you me, there is so much of that going on. And all the people, or the majority of the people who are in both houses, were not necessarily the best sort of candidates that could have been.
And the second phase of the conspiracy is such that somebody like Ekerimadu will eventually, because they are already hiding the fact that if Bukola should win, finally, as the president, then Ekerimadu is going to become the deputy, which represents the PDP. And that creates a form of a balance in the house
exactly.
anyway. If it creates a form of a balance in the house.
And that's what it's all about, to have that balance. It's good when it's close like that, because then you can't impose your own will on the people, as has been happening in the past, I'm afraid. When the majority is too heavy, and it's too heavily loaded, it now becomes autocratic, it now becomes despotic, and it starts to impose its will and denying the voice of the people. It's a healthy process. I personally am very, very excited.
Now, Ishoma, don't you think what could have been avoided? This happened in 2011 when Mulikat was eventually, presented as a consensus candidate, under the platform of the ACN, and you suddenly realize that during the time of the election there was a complete turnaround, and they voted, another person entirely. I mean, that was when Tambuwal eventually emerged as the Speaker of the House of Representatives. But my concern is that, don't you think the 8th Assembly have a tendency of being characterized with a lot of, plans to unseat, to seat and unseat again, knowing fully well that the process that is being deployed as at now is totally, political in the sense that the right candidates may not eventually get into the office.
No, I think they will. Because if you see the personality or the person of Amin Tambuwal and many other APC stalwarts who have held such positions also were able to, who learned from their mistakes, are already cautioning these individuals that, look, do not make the kind of mistakes that we made during our own time. If you do this, this would be, or this could be the negative tendencies which may be the outcome. So I guess they have. But
consider some of the thrust that they are using against Gbajabiamila now. That he has a court case. He was alleged, of fraud in Georgia back in the days. They just brought it up and say he's not even eligible in the first place.
We saw all of these processes, all of these court, legal suits and all of that emerging even before the general elections. But did that stop the people of Nigeria from voting who they wanted? No. So as far as I'm concerned right now,
Ishoma, don't you think, you guys, don't you think that there is, there's an undertone to the emergence of Femi Gbajabiamila?
The people voted.
This is not just about voting someone. Or they probably feel, okay, the president is saying that, okay, everything is going to work fine, everything is going to go well. What if, the consensus for Femi Gbajabiamila is that they know that there is someone who can compromise, someone who can eventually favor the activities, the frivolous and the extravagance. He's been around, and they know that, okay, this guy is smart enough to be able to make sure that we still get a portion of our national cake when he becomes the Speaker of the House of Representatives.
He is very seasoned. Very seasoned. There's no doubt about that.
If that would be the case, but there are so many legal ways which they can remove him from the seat. And
that's why I'm saying that the 8th Assembly eventually will get characterized with a lot of let's unseat him, let's vote against him and get him out and bring our own candidate, and then another set of people will go and regroup to come against, and then totally
it's an interesting
focus is shifted.
In fact, to be honest, they should be calling themselves the Crossfire Assembly. Because, oh man, the darts that are firing all over the place. It's incredible. But what worries me is because they've had to work so hard. Now they're really sweating to get into that seat. So when they get there, they now feel, okay, all these massive allowances and our huge wage package is justified. And this is what we are going to fight against.
How is that going to happen? You can't cut it. The parliament has a very great power to be able to say, no, why are you cutting it? This is how we arrived at these figures.
Oh, this is the problem.
I'm telling you, the best you can do.
Do you think the person of Bukola Saraki will be able to stand on the path of justice for the people?
I believe so.
Well, if that's the case, then
I believe so. Do you know why? Bukola Saraki was 8 years governor of Kwara State,
and then a senator.
And then a senator. He's doing the second. He's doing another 4 years. You understand? And he was the chairman of the governors forum when he was governor of Kwara State. So he's been around.
He's been
from the state level, he knows what's up. I mean, from the national level, he's been there also. So when you're looking for a balanced candidate, I think we can find one in Buki Saraki.
In fact, some people would say that he's actually just preparing himself for the next step, because 2019 is only 4 years away. However, if these people are going to be calling themselves the representatives of the Nigerian people, then they better take a very deep look at those people that they're supposed to be representing. What is the income? What is the average income of a typical Nigerian? And then what is the income that these guys have been earning in the Senate, in the House of Reps? Is it in any way justifiable that I'm representing people whose income is on this level, and I am receiving an income on that level that is even higher than the income of the president of the most powerful nation in the whole world? So one would expect that if they really want to justify being called representatives of the people, no matter how hard they had to work, no matter how many crossfires they had to do to get into that position, the first thing they will do is slash their income by at least 50%.
All right,
if they don't do that, then they're not representing me, that's for sure.
To slash the income of the members of the upper and the lower chamber by 50%, that is a quote from Desmond Maduekudunmi. We'll go on a short break now. When we come back, we'll still be discussing about government and governance. This is Crossfire.